In the last transmission, I give a name to the experience. But today, I'm going to go deeper, not into poetry, into the mechanism. Because before a craving becomes an action, before an impulse becomes a decision, before a pattern takes over, there is a gate. Your nervous system is receiving signals all the time: light, sound, memory, emotion, body sensation, desire, fear, pressure, the energy of the room, the tone in someone's voice, the song that suddenly changed your state, the message you should not answer, the thought you should not fit. And your brain has to decide what matters, what is danger, what is safety, what is threat, what is reward, what deserves action right now. This is important. Your nervous system does not think in terms of good or bad. It does think in terms of regulation, balance or imbalance, safety or threat, pressure or release, pain or relief. So if a behavior gives you a relief, even if that behavior is destroying your life, your nervous systems remember. That is where neuroplasticity enters. Neuroplasticity means that your brain and your nervous systems can change through repetition. Every repeated thought, every repeated behavior, every repeated emotional state starts reinforcing neural pathways. At first, it is a choice. Then it becomes familiar. Then it gains momentum. Then the pattern becomes automatic. And if you repeat it long enough, it can start to feel like an identity. This is why addiction is not only about pleasure. Sometimes addiction is the nervous system trying to turn down the volume of the internal chaos. You are not always chasing happiness. Sometimes you are just chasing silence. Silence from anxiety, silence from shame, silence from memories, silence from overstimulation, silence for the pressure of being yourself. And when a pattern gives you that silence once, the brain remembers. When it gives you that silence again, the pathway strengthens. Repeat it enough times, and now the pattern has momentum. It starts moving before your conscious self has even finished speaking. That is the moment when people say, it feels like something took over. It feels like possession. It feels like I was watching myself doing it. Now, let me be precise. I am not saying this is literal possession. I am saying this is what pattern dominance can feel like from the inside. When a repeated loop becomes stronger than your conscious intention, your agency fragments. Your higher self says, do not do this. But the reinforced pathway says, this is how we survive. And the body follows the pattern that has more momentum. In Spiritudivergence, I call these loops entities, not necessarily demons, not necessarily external beings. In this context, an entity is a self reinforcing pattern of thoughts, emotion, memory, and behavior. a pattern that has learned how to keep itself alive. It has triggers, it has timing, it has a doorway, it has a voice. It knows when you are tired, it knows when you are lonely, it knows when you are overstimulated, it knows when you are proud, it knows when you are rising. Because sometimes the old pattern does not only attack when you are weak, sometimes it returns when your identity is expanding, when your energy is higher, when your future self is coming to the picture of this present, when the old systems realize, I'm losing control. That is why transformation can feel so unstable. That's why pain is an important component in the chemical formula of transformation and growth. You are not just building a new life, you are rewiring new neural pathways. You are interrupting the old momentum. You are teaching your nervous system that relief does not have to come from escape. Relief can come from breath, from truth, from movement, from discipline, from music, from prayer, from presence, from purpose, from a new pattern repeated long enough to become real. This is why I say you are not what visits your mind. You are what you choose to amplify. A thought might visit, a craving might visit, a shadow might visit, a voice might knock the door. But not every visitor deserves a room in your mental house. Not every signal deserves obedience. Not every impulse is a command. This is the difference between being the host and becoming the architect. The host obeys to the loudest signal. The architect studies the signal. The host asks, why am I like this? The architect asks, what pattern is speaking right now? What is this pattern trying to regulate? What pathway is being reinforced? What would happen if I gave my attention to another signal? Because every action reinforces something. If you escape, you reinforce escape. If you breathe, you reinforce regulation. If you tell the truth, you reinforce coherence. If you move your body, you reinforce agency. If you return to your purpose, even for 1 minute, you reinforce your future successful self. This is why I created Norwaker and the Sonic Resilience Kit. Not as a magic trick, not as a replacement from therapy or recovery, but as a systematic training protocol. Because think about this, sound can influence your state, music can interact with the autonomic nervous system, language guides attention, rhythm gives your nervous system a pattern to follow, and repetition strengthens neural pathway. Can you understand that? I will repeat that. Sound can influence your state. Music can interact with the autonomic nervous system. Language guides attention. Rhythm gives your nervous system a pattern to follow. Repetition strengthens neural pathway. And if you don't believe me, listen to the radio or to the songs from commercials. That's what they are trying to do because your perspective controls your behavior, and your perspective is what you think and what you feel about something. And an identity begins to change when the new pattern becomes stronger than the old one. We do not expel the shadow. This is not an exorcism. We reorganize the resonance. We do not destroy sensitivity with external things. We train the gate from inside out. We shift the system from noise to signal, from unconscious spirit to divergence, to psi focus, from automatic reaction to conscious direction, from fragmented agency to inner architecture. Because think about it, if chaos can become automatic, clarity can become automatic too. If escape can be reinforced, discipline can be reinforced. If addiction can build a pathway in your brain, freedom can be a pathway as well. If the host can be hijacked, the architect can awaken. My name is Norwaker, and this is the next step of the spiritual divergence map. This is just the beginning. Remember, signal over noise. Enter the psi focus and become the architect. And as I said before, by the power of 3 times 3, let us feel, let us be, let us see. Abracadabra, efata, efata, efata. It is done. Thank you.